Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
The SAP reset date, Ms. Bridgewater?
Election Day, November 5th.
Thank you. Okay, courtroom two, are we ready to get going?
Whenever you're ready, Your Honor, this will be position number 4, Ms. Jennifer Brown.
Okay, thank you. Let me address everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present to represent you. If you do not have a private attorney, we will provide you with the assistance of a public defender today if you choose to utilize their services. Good afternoon, Ms. Brown. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007176A with theft of service. Let's see, I don't see Mr. Howard on as of yet. Good afternoon, Ms. McCockey.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I have that this defendant, Ms. Brown, this is her second arrest in Georgia. She also has one arrest cycle out of Maryland. She has an open case 24 CR 005432A. That was also a theft of service. She was given a $5,000 SOB jail on August 3rd, 2024. This incident occurred yesterday at Rumi's Kitchen, located at 1175 Peachtree Street in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of ordering and eating $38.11 worth of food and not being able to pay for it. This was not the first time the defendant had not been able to pay for the bill at this location. She had been at the location twice before on the day of the incident and was unable to pay for food at that time too, but the restaurant chose not to call the police. I'm not sure why they kept allowing her to order food. The state's recommendation, given the fact that she currently has an open case, is a $1,000 surety bond. She was already given an SOB jail and proceeded to commit another offense. Stay away from that Rumi's Kitchen, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. She may need a social worker visit.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cook. Is this your case?
Good afternoon. Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client is 42 years old. She is not working. She has no income. We would be seeking another shot at a signature bond, if possible. If not, then the lowest possible surety bond that the court would consider.
Okay, does she need a social worker visit, Mr. Cook?
I think that would help. We can arrange that.
If there's an issue with housing, if there's an issue with knowing where that she can get services for food or shelter. So I'm going to give you one other opportunity, Ms. Brown. It'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Stay away from Rumi's Kitchen. A social worker visit to assist with housing or anything else that Ms. Brown may need. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
That's per judge.
Good luck to you, Ms. Brown. Per judge.
Thank you.
This is going to be Ms. Linda Jordan, position number 8.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jordan. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007180J with simple battery family violence and battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Last arrest was in 1981.
Okay. Yes, Ms. McCockey.
Your Honor, I had that she had a 2016 arrest for aggravated assault, 16 SC 14643. Involving the same victim. In this case, Mr. Larry Jordan, who is her husband. In that case, she was accused of attacking him with metal cutting shears. Her last name was different in that case. It was Killoran, Killoran. This incident occurred October 21st, 2024. The incident location is 10740 Willow Meadow Circle in Johns Creek. The victim is her husband, Mr. Larry Jordan. The defendant is accused of pushing the victim, striking him with her walker, and ripping his shirt. Officers did observe lacerations on both sides of the victim's face, as well as a laceration on his foot, and did observe that ripped shirt as well. The altercation started when the parties were arguing about the money the defendant had given the victim to deposit into the bank. The defendant did admit to pushing the victim and told officers she did not consider pushing him as getting physical. The state's recommendation, given that she has a previous case involving violence against this victim, is a $2,000 surety bond on the battery, a $1,000 surety bond on the simple battery family violence. No further contact with Larry Jordan. Stay away from that incident location. Anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol. Our office has reached out to Mr. Jordan, but have not had an opportunity to speak with him. I would ask that you sound for him in case he's on the Zoom.
Mr. Larry Jordan is on the call and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Ms. McConkey is correct about the prior. She took first offender. I believe that she successfully completed her first offender on that. She is, let's see, 63 years old. She does use the walker. I'm about to say something that this is not justification. I'm not in any way implying that, but was angry because he didn't deposit all the money. And so they were having quite a heated argument about the rest of the money. But, you know, I'm just offering context there. I'll put it that way. But it should not have gone past words, of course. Your Honor, she works as, she's in training to get a new job, which will be a remote job over the internet as a Caremark, Aetna, CVS type health insurance person. And that has information. I don't understand that area of commerce, but it's a remote job. Her typical career has been as a paralegal for civil practice law. Been local in Georgia for 33 years. She owns the home. Her name is on the mortgage. I warned her that things could go in court where if the court felt certain things were fair, she might ironically have a choice between defaulting on her mortgage while somebody lives in it, or if Mr. Jordan on the Zoom asking to come back, things differently. But apparently he's not. So I'm not sure how that will work out in terms of my asking for no further violent contact. With him not present, I realize the court may feel that no contact is warranted. At any rate, Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider a signature bond. This is an elderly couple that, and this is a push, and I'm not downplaying that, but I am for the purposes of bond.
Okay. For the simple battery, it'll be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the battery, a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Since no one has heard from Mr. Jordan and don't know his wishes at this time, there'll be no further contact with him. Stay away from the incident location. She can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Certainly, if someone hears from Mr. Jordan and his wishes are different, the bond can be modified conditions can be modified at a later date. Good luck to you, Ms. Jordan.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 1, Mr. Jesse Bray.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bray. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0071733C with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
21. On probation for shoplifting out of state court. on another probation for armed robbery. I think he was given time. You gave him time served last week in SAP, if I'm not mistaken. 2023 probation, 2022 trespass conviction, 2019 probation. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Allen.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is my case. Pretrial is correct. The defendant entered a guilty plea on the 15th of October to two different cases. Both were shoplifting cases, one from the Dollar Tree store at 2630 MLK Junior Drive, the other at 3050 MLK Junior Drive, which is a City Trends location. In front of you today is an incident from the 21st of October. Police were called to the same location at 2630 MLK Junior Drive, which is the Family Dollar, the same location he is under sentence for and ordered to stay away from as of October the 15th when he pled guilty in front of Your Honor. Police responded to the location on a report that the defendant had come there on the 20th of October and been criminally trespassed. He had returned on the 21st. When officers got to the location, again at the Family Dollar there on MLK Junior, security handed the defendant over to the officer, and the store manager spoke to police and reported that the defendant should not be on the premises. He'd been there previously and criminally trespassed previously, Your Honor. The defendant is, I believe, under supervision for an armed robbery case from 2014 and has two open cases that you just heard about through this court, but also three cases from 2022 and a fourth from 2023, all for criminal trespass. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, MHET, a requirement that the defendant stay away from that location, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Mr. Cook.
Your Honor, my client is 32 years old. We understand the record in the background. He's apparently homeless and is living in shelters. We would like to start with BHET and perhaps move up from there. As far as the bond itself, he is not working. He has no income and no one to help him with any bond. So we would be seeking a signature bond. Thank you.
Okay, well, I can't give him a signature bond simply because I sentenced him
Yes.
not more than, 2 weeks ago, whatever.
Yes.
No, last week for, hold on, Mr. Gray, for this exact same problem here. So there's a problem with him not staying away from that Family Dollar. I need to figure out what that.
No Family Dollar, ain't no Family Dollar right there. Why are you listen, sir? Y'all even say a Dollar General, bro. What even I'm listening right no Family Dollar located right there.
Okay, well, I don't know what whatever, and I've got my state all-purpose calendar right here where I told you. Listen to me,
Mr. Judge, talk, man.
Listen to me, Mr. Gray. You weren't supposed to go back to 2630 MLK Junior.
I never went to a Family.
Okay, whether it's Family Dollar or whatever that is, that location is right there, you can't go there. So I'm gonna have to figure out, and we're gonna have to figure out what's going on with him, Mr. Cook. So it'll be $1,000 good bond. I'll start off with the BHET. If you'll let a social worker visit, if you will let them know to report, if I'm on that November 5th calendar to me, at that time, he's to stay away from 2630 MLK Junior Drive, whatever that location is, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. We'll see you back in 2 weeks.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 7, Mr. Kurt Jennings. Hey, if I hear you talk one more time, I'll reset you. And the judge heard me.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jennings. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007178B with simple assault family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third arrest, 2019 expired license. That's it.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 895 Embassy Court in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Takara Cash, who shares a child with the defendant. The parties were having a verbal dispute when the victim began to walk away and the defendant threw a glass cup at her, causing it to shatter on the floor. Our office has spoken with Ms. Cash, who confirmed that her and the defendant are no longer in a relationship. They live together at the incident location and they share one child. She confirmed the events in the warrant, says this is not the first time the defendant has been violent towards her. And the police have been called before, but no arrests have been made in the past. She is in fear of the defendant and does not want to have contact with him. She says she has left the residence, but will need a law enforcement escort to get the rest of her belongings. So it seems like she's in the process of moving out. She is okay with a third-party transfer of their minor child. The state's recommendation will be for a signature bond, that he have no further contact with Takara Cash, that he undergo some anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. The victim will need a law enforcement escort to retrieve the rest of her belongings. I believe she is on the Zoom, so if you could please sound for Ms. Takara Cash.
Ms. Cash is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. You'll have to unmute yourself and activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in if you choose to address the court this afternoon.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, my video is not functioning well, but I do not wish to say anything. I have no input. I just want to, that's all. I have no
Okay.
additional words.
You're fine, Ms. Cash. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Yes, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, Sean, my client is 30 years old. He works as an IT contractor. His position is that they have not lived together in that location for some time, although I don't believe there would be any objection to a law enforcement officer accompanying her to retrieve her any belongings she still has. My client tells me they are in proceedings in Fulton County Superior Court regarding custody and support in regard to the child, which he takes care of primarily because of the living arrangements. Again, his position on the actual facts are he was working upstairs. He came by to visit the child. She broke the glass, called the police, and made this report. And if you look at the arrest affidavit, there's not much in the way of detail there. Again, we would have no objection to a signature bond. If it could be through the jail, realize this is a family violence, but if it could be, well, I guess it would have to be through pretrial. We would object to anger awareness at this point, Your Honor. As for the rest of the conditions, we have no problem with the third-party transfer for visitation, and if she can come back with law enforcement to pick up what belongings she has there, no objection there.
Okay, $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Cash. Third-party transfer of minor child for visitation. If Ms. Cash chooses to retrieve any belongings, I'll allow her to do that through, as long as she has a police escort to retrieve those belongings. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 11, Mr. Anthony Moss.
Okay.
Could we wait just a few more minutes till 2:30 on Anthony Moss? Because the Grady Act team will be zooming in at that time, hopefully, and we could do a breakout session and discuss MH.
Oh, we'll put it at the back of the calendar.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You go back to the third one. Next, Your Honor, we'll go to position number 14, Mr. Gerard Watkins. and he's represented by Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Watkins. You've been charged in case 24CR0071848 with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
On probation for ag assault. Got an open disorderly conduct, public drunk obstruction out of state court. On probation in Newton County, theft by receiving. He's wanted out of Riverdale and Gwinnett. 2021 FTA probation, 2024 probation, 2017 probation, 2015 theft by receiving conviction, 2014 battery DV conviction.
Thank
Your
you.
Honor, just briefly, this is a companion case with Mr. Elder, who was also conflicted out of our office. I had requested 2 conflict attorneys. I know we've been having trouble getting one at times, but that's the situation we're in on this case.
Mr. Cook, he said he'll go pro se.
Okay, Mr. Elder?
Yes.
Okay, well, all right. That's fine.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. So this defendant is a co-defendant to position number 5 on our calendar, Mr. Elder. The facts in this case are that on the 20th of October, Randall Evans, who's the resident of 345 Lanier Street Northwest, his residence there had been broken into, and he left that evening. He returned the next morning at about 7:30 on October the 21st. Where he saw lights on inside the residence and called the police. Police made entry into the location, and Mr. Elder in position 5 was asleep on the couch. Mr. Watkins in front of you from position 14 was found hiding in a bedroom closet. Mr. Randall Evans, the resident of that location, reported that these gentlemen are unknown to him and he'd not given them permission to be at the location. So this is a single count of criminal trespass. You did hear from probation from pretrial, excuse me, that the defendant has a current open case and is on active probation for pretty serious felonies. We'd ask for $1,000 surety, Your Honor. No contact with the co-defendant, Mr. Elder. Stay away from the location. Again, that's 345 Lanier Street Northwest. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and no contact with the victim, the owner of this residence, Randall Evans. Thank you.
Your Honor, I would be asking for a signature bond for my client. Mr. Watkins tells me that he was hired by someone who he thought was the owner of the property to clean the property, and that was what he was there doing. When the police arrived, he indicates that I would have to presume it was Mr. Evans who showed the cops that he had title to this property, but they were both still arrested. So my client's a bit puzzled about that because all along he was under the impression that this property belonged to the person who hired him to do the cleaning, and that's why he was there. He is not currently employed, he tells me, Your Honor. He just does odd jobs. So of course he's not in a position to pay for bond. So given the nature of the allegations, Your Honor, I would ask for signature bond for him. Nothing further, Your Honor.
What time did this allegedly occur, Ms. Allen?
About 3 in the morning, but he tells me that he had been there working the entire afternoon until late in the night, and he was just waiting with the owner for it to get into the early morning where there would be public transportation again, so he could go home. That's what he tells me.
This was at 7:30 in the morning, Your Honor. The defendant was found hiding in a closet. The other person was asleep on the couch.
And where was Mr. Evans? He wasn't anywhere on the scene?
He came home after his house had been broken into the night before, saw lights were on inside, and alerted the police, who assisted and made entry with him.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how you're cleaning the house at 7:30 in the morning, hiding in the closet, and the dude was asleep on the couch, but okay.
He wasn't hiding, according to what he tells me.
Okay. Mr. Watkins, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. I'm sure that Ms. McLeod would advise you not to say anything, but Ms. McLeod, you want to advise him?
Yes, Mr. Watkins, this is just your bond hearing, so don't say anything, okay? Let me do the speaking for you.
Going to be a $500 good bond. No further contact with Randall Evans. No further contact with Curtis Elder. Stay away from the Lanier Street address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Watkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good day. Thank you. We appreciate your time, Ms. McLennan.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, this is the co-defendant, Mr. Elder, position number 5.
Good afternoon, Mr. Elder. Let's see. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We unfortunately do not have another conflict attorney to represent you today. It's my understanding that you wish to proceed pro se without the advice of counsel. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that what you like to do today, Mr. Elder?
Yes, if they're gonna get me out of here. I'm been released by 3 or 4 times.
Okay. So, Mr. Elder, you've been charged in case 24 CR 007177F with criminal trespass. Is there history, Mr. Howard?
2023 trespass dismissed. 2017 FTA. Yes, sir.
Anything else for the facts, Ms. McConkey?
Just want to add that in the incident report, it says the defendant told officers they entered the location through the open door in order to get warm because it was cold outside. The state's recommendation for Mr. Elder is a signature bond. Stay away from that incident location. Have no further contact with Randall Evans. Have no contact with co-defendant Watkins. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Just so I can make sure, Mr. Howard, he doesn't have any other criminal trespasses on his record, does he?
I have to go look.
I don't see anything on the sheet that you sent.
I didn't
earlier.
see anything either.
Okay. All right. So it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Randall Evans. No further contact with Gerard Watkins. Stay away from the Lanier Street address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Mr. Elder, I'm going to let you sign your own yourself out, but you're going to have to make sure to return at your next court hearing to answer for the charges. Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Elder.
Thanks a lot.
You don't. We'll sit in that third row. Next, Your Honor, is gonna be position number 9, Mr. Darrell Lucas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lucas. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007181F with simple battery, family violence, reckless conduct, and 2 counts of criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
4 on probation for battery DV out of state court. 2014 FTA, 2014 simple battery dismissed.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. That battery that he's on probation for, he pled guilty on April 25th, 2024. That battery involves the same victim in this case, Jabria Kwashi. The defendant was ordered to have no further violent contact with the victim, undergo an FBIP, have 40 hours of community service, and get an MHET 30 days after his release. Obviously, he is now in violation of that probation because he did have violent contact with the victim from that case. This incident occurred in August of 2024. The incident location is 777 Central Avenue Southeast in Atlanta. The victim shares a 9-month-old daughter with the defendant. The victim told officers she was in bed asleep when she heard the defendant getting upset with her about not cleaning up enough. The defendant then struck her in the face and she got up and they continued to argue. The defendant then walked outside and the victim locked the door behind him. Because he couldn't get back inside, the defendant proceeded to kick the screen door, causing damage to it, and then proceeded to break the bedroom window, trying to get inside the home. The victim did eventually let the defendant back inside the house, at which point he proceeded to pick up a small metal fan and strike her with it. This caused the victim to fall onto the ground and she fell on top of their 9-month-old daughter. The defendant fled the scene before officers arrived. Our office has spoken with the victim, who says that her and the defendant are in a relationship. They live together at the incident location. She confirmed the events in the warrant, stated this is not the first time the defendant has been violent towards her. She stated the defendant has been back to the residence since this particular incident, and there has been violence since this incident. She states the defendant does help her financially and she relies on him. And she told us that she thinks that it doesn't matter what the court orders because the defendant is just going to return to the home again. The state's recommendation, given that he just pled guilty to having violent contact with this victim and has now had violent contact with her again, we are very concerned about her safety. We're concerned about the safety of the child. We're concerned that he will reoffend, given that it's been less than 5-6 months since he pled guilty to attacking her. The recommendation is a $3,500 good bond for the simple battery, a $4,500 good bond for the reckless conduct, a $1,000 good bond for each criminal trespass, that he have no further contact with this victim, that he stay away from that incident location, that he wear an ankle monitor so that we can ensure that he does not go back to this residence and that he does stay away from this victim, that he have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Jabria Kwashi at this time.
Spell the last name for me, please.
Quashie.
Ms. Kwashi is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. McClain? Is this your case? No? Who's representing Mr. Lucas?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, he hasn't had a stable address since that April thing, but he has occasionally stayed there. He will be able to find some friends to couch surf or otherwise stay with today, if need be. His job is at a restaurant since April of 2024, Battle and Brew. Before that, Cream. Before that, he worked at an airport restaurant, and before that, he worked at another restaurant in Decatur. So he's obviously got a career going in the food industry, the hospitality, industry. He's 28 years old. The main problem, of course, we have here today is this prior from April. So I would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible. I don't know that the court could possibly do a signature bond, a bond request, but the ankle monitor, if that's something that would help the court move towards that area, I bet he could scrape up money to get an ankle monitor. And there we have it. Thank you.
Your client has his hand up, Mr. McClain. You want to address him?
A procedural question, Mr. Lucas, about how court, because if it's about the case, we've already, we're just doing bond and we've spoken about the case.
Okay. If there's nothing further for the simple battery, it'll be a $2,000 good bond. The reckless conduct, $1,000 good bond. Each of the criminal trespasses, $500 good bond. Makes for a total of a $4,000 good bond. No further contact with the alleged victim. Stay away from the Central Avenue address. Third-party transfer of any minor children for visitation. He can have a one-time police escort to retrieve any belongings that he might have. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Understood.
Good
Your
luck to you,
Honor,
Mr.
very briefly, I would object to the third-party transfer unless the child has been legitimated and there's like a parenting plan in place.
Okay, well, since we don't have Ms. Kwashi on the line, if she wants this to be modified in any way, she can, after you discuss with the victim advocate, she can seek to have it modified. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Lucas.
Next, Your Honor, we're going to go to position number 10, Mr. Carlos Moore.
Good afternoon, Mr. Moore. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007174H with unlawful squatting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Is this our first time getting a case like this?
It is.
6 total, 2024 trespass, 2019 FTA. That's it.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant does have an open South Fulton case for criminal trespass at a different location. The incident in this case, Your Honor, started, I guess it's a date range. We're talking about September the 12th through October the 1st of 2024. Police went to the location. It's 116 Kyram, K-I-R-A-M Terrace, South Fulton. That is a vacant property owned by Divvy Homes, D-I-V-V-Y Homes. There, they met with their representative for that company, Michael Lee. He reported that the vacant property is being occupied or was being occupied by the defendant who did not have a lease. Police spoke with Mr. Moore. He claimed he had a lease through someone called Sanders Anderson, who is not the owner or the leaser of that property, and that he'd been paying to stay in that property in multiple ways, including through Bitcoin, and was assured he could be there through the end of October. The defendant was given a citation and a court date. He did not appear for his September the 24th court date with a copy of his lease and information about his belief that he gets to be at that location. He was given another court date of October the 1st and again failed to appear. And so we're here today. It's one count of unlawful squatting, 16-7-21.1. He had, and it notes in his documents from South Fulton that the same police officers had just encountered him and had the same issue with him at a different property recently. So this is a knowing and willful issue, failing to show up for court to answer to the citation and deal with the issue of not being the rightful possessor of that property. Is something the defendant evaded and avoided at least on 2 separate occasions. And so here we are. We'd ask for $1,000 surety, Your Honor, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and an order to stay away from that location. Again, it's 116 Kyram, K-I-R-A-M, Terrace, South Fulton. The defendant has history out of Michigan as well as Georgia, and he's noted to be a convicted felon. Thank you.
Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my client for his high school education, he's been working on a bachelor's degree. He hasn't finished it. Georgia for about 6 or 7 years. He's got relatives who have been here longer than that. He has ties. If he's not quite local, I usually wait till he has a job of working in training at Six Flags over Georgia, training the employees who do the rides, and worked at that for 6 years. Right now, he's a MC at several clubs and is now in the entertainment industry.
Anything further, Mr. McLean? I'm sorry, Mr. McLean, if you're speaking, I can't hear you.
My thing's not on mute. I'm not sure what's wrong, but that's everything, Your Honor. Yes. We
Okay.
went to bond on that.
All right, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Stay away from the Kyram Terrace address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you. Next, Your Honor, we're going to go to position number 12, Mr. Antonio Ross.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ross. You have been charged in case 24 CR 0071828A with battery family violence. My understanding is this is Mr. Ross's first arrest. Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 21st of October between 11:30 a.m. and about 2 p.m. The incident here took place at 6230 Emerald Point Circle in College Park. Police were notified by a 911 call, and dispatch reported that an anonymous caller reported hearing a verbal and that there was a gentleman at the location there beating a woman. Officers arrived at the location and while standing outside could hear altercation. They announced their presence and requested entry for somebody to answer the door. That was not complied with. Eventually, the defendant did come to the door and he and the victim were separated. The victim was seen to have a laceration on her lip that was also bruised and bleeding. She reported that they had argued because he was upset about people she was following on Instagram. As he gathered his things to leave the location, he struck her in the face with his closed fist, causing that bloody lip. The victim was treated by South Fulton Fire on the scene. And she reports that they were living together at the location. We have spoken with her this morning. The victim's name is Sierra Campbell. I'm not sure if she's on our Zoom, but the information we have is that she's currently pregnant. It was not included in our police documentation, but that was what we were informed of today. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She says that the defendant has been violent with her in the past, but she's called the police just this one time. She's been in fear, and she continues to be in fear. She has left the residence, but she will need to return to get her belongings. So the victim will need a one-time escort, but she would like no contact. So we're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, no contact with the victim, Sierra Campbell, to allow her a one-time escort, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, Your Honor.
Sierra Campbell is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, we're pending.
Yes, I'm present, but I don't have anything to say.
Okay, thank you for being here, Ms. Campbell.
You're welcome.
McLean?
Your Honor, we're subbing in for private counsel who is not yet, I talked to his dad. They haven't finished hiring a lawyer yet. They will. He works, he's got a CDL, commercial driver's license. He is a truck driver. He's local, not over the road. He's 23 years old, lived in Georgia all his life, lives on that Chastain Ridge address. So that's Marietta, so that's Cobb County. Gets good mail service there. I imagine that's probably his parents' address or something. Got stable phone numbers for his dad, and the other phone number I think is maybe his sister. We'd ask the court under these circumstances, given, even though of course it is a BFV, we would ask the court to consider the lowest bond possible. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ross, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. I'll allow Mr. McLean to speak with you at a later time. If there's something that you need to say to him before I give you a bond, I'm happy to let you speak with him. Mr. McLean, Mr. Ross has his hand up.
I'm sure it's just a procedural question about how things work at the jail, because Mr. Ross, we've covered the substantive matters and you don't need to speak further. Thank you.
Do you have a question about the bond condition, Mr. Ross?
I called the police.
Okay.
Your Honor, Mr.
All right.
Ross, forget it.
Well, he wanted to get that out. So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Ross. It's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Sierra Campbell. She can go back to the Emerald Point Circle to retrieve her belongings with a police escort. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Okay. Good luck to you, Mr. Ross.
Your Honor, was that 3,000 you said?
Yes.
Next is gonna be position number 13, Mr. Anthony Thomas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas. You have been charged in case 24 CR 0071833C with 3 counts of simple battery, family violence, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
54. Couple of 2023 probations, 2022 battery DV, DWAP, 2020 FTA and probation. That's it.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that has had an outstanding warrant since January of this year. This is from January the 7th of 2024. Police were called at 3 a.m. to the address 3815 MLK Junior Drive Southwest. There they met with this defendant's wife, I believe, and stepdaughter. The main victim in this case is Amaya Girard, Amaya, excuse me, Girard, Girard. She identified herself as the stepdaughter to this defendant. She reported that the defendant, who lives at the location with her family, was arguing with her mother's name, also last name Girard, Girard. First name is Aviance, Aviance. Mrs. Aviance Girard and Mr. Anthony Thomas were arguing when the daughter stepped in and asked the defendant to just leave the location. He grabbed her by her arms and spit in her face and then bit her on her hand. Police responded and took that report. They spoke to mom, who reported that she witnessed the assault and she tried to intervene. They both reported that there were ongoing issues with violence in the home, but the defendant had fled. Shortly thereafter, police were called a second time to the location and told that he'd returned. When police responded to the location the second time, the defendant had thrown bricks and damaged 2 exterior windows at the location. And then police saw him, ordered him to stop and talk, and he fled on foot. Warrants were taken out at that time. I would note that the 2022 battery family violence case that was in our office that was dismissed when we were unable to get the victim under subpoena, and the victim in that case is the wife of this gentleman, Aviance Girard. So the mother who witnessed this defendant spit at, bite, and grab her daughter. That was a battery family violence case that was open, but we had to dismiss it. The defendant also has 54 cycles that you just heard about, including the most recent 2018 possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and drug felony conviction out of Fulton County. We haven't been able to get in contact with the Girards this morning, but at this point, we're asking for a $3,000 surety bond, Your Honor, in order to stay away from that location. The address is 3815 MLK Junior Drive Southwest. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and no contact. And if you would sound for Mrs. Girard and her daughter, so that's Aviance and Amaya. Thank you.
If either of those are on the line and wish to address the court now, it's your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McClain?
Your Honor, my client, Mr. Thomas, let's see, I didn't write his age down. I usually do that. He's a graduate of Westside Works Culinary Academy. He is currently working at a Chick-fil-A and hopes to be working at a restaurant that has more, has the type of food that'll use his culinary skills more. He has a stable mailing address at 275 Trinity, because that's a transitional center, and he's getting his act together in terms of that kind of housing transition and housing stability, and feels that his mail will be faithfully delivered there, and he shouldn't have any trouble communication wise. He realizes I speak sometimes with candor to the court. He had candor to me. He told me right off the bat that there would be quite a few arrests in the arrest history. We would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible in this situation. Thank you.
All right, it'll be a $500 good bond per charge, makes for a total of a $2,500 good bond. No further contact with either of the alleged victims. Stay away from the MLK Drive address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Excuse me.
Yes, who's speaking?
Hi, I'm a friend of Anthony Thomas.
Okay, if you'd like to address the court, I'm going to need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And yes, ma'am, you can put your hand down. Would you like, will you identify yourself for me, please?
My name is Derek Ward, and I've been a friend of Anthony for over 13 years.
Okay. Would you like to tell the court, Ms. Ward?
Yeah, Anthony and that fiance of his, they are recovered addicts, and the wife had relapsed around Christmas time and spent
Your
their
Honor, I'm
little
going to object at
savings.
this point. This is hearsay. This person is
No,
not a
I have
witness to this
proof.
incident. This is
Okay.
irrelevant and
I
inappropriate.
have his daughter right now. That's how you guys called him. Yesterday, he was called to the precinct to
Again,
get
Your Honor,
his
I'm going to
daughter.
object.
Okay, I'm just gonna listen to what she has to say. So
Please,
go ahead.
thank you, Your Honor.
So this
So-
this lady's not a relative. She was not a witness to this incident and has no credibility as far as what's going on here.
I made my
The
decision.
reason you cannot, Your Honor, the reason they cannot contact the victims are because they're both out on the street. I can tell you exactly their location. They're hanging at a store. She has relapsed, like I stated. He's in a treatment center. He's been getting himself together, as the public defender stated. I have his daughter. So yesterday he was obtained at a precinct at Zone 1. I mean, the captain is the vouch. You can vouch the captain at Zone 1 can vouch for this. They have called the place that he's residing in. So yesterday, his child's mother got arrested. He was next to kin. They called him. Before they released the baby, they ran his name, and that's how they found out he had the warrant. The captain is on board with this. I have his daughter right now because there's no parents available. I have defects on board, social workers on board. Like, he's changed his life. He's honestly been straight. He has not been on drugs. The center would vouch for that. He's been there.
Okay. So, Ms. Ward, this is just a bond hearing today. So everything that you're telling the court and the solicitor's office, which I would think that they would be would want to know where their alleged victims are, that might be helpful. And Mr. McLean, are you listening to this?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So I just have one more thing to say. Is there any way that we can get him a lower bond, or however the bond is going to go, because he stays in a facility and he only works at Chick-fil-A, not making 40 hours a week?
Okay, well, I've made my decision as far as the bond goes. He'll have another hearing if he doesn't get out on the 5th of next month. And in the meantime, Mr. McLean, you need to see if you can get Ms. Ward's information so that you can get whomever's going to represent him as much information about what she's telling the court at the present time.
Understood, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for being.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Okay, who do we have next?
You know. Next, we're gonna go to position number 2 and position number 3. Mr. Brinson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brinson. Let's see, you've been charged in case 24 CR 007175C with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
50 plus on probation in state court for trespass. Got an open shoplifting, trespass, giving false name. Oh, that's with you. 24 CR 004 555C. He been arrested in 11 different states. 2023 probation, 2022 battery, 2022 FTA, 2021 grand theft conviction.
Okay, thank you. Ms.
I don't remember
McCoskey?
how much that bond was either. I have to look.
I'll let you Alcoholics Anonymous counseling.
Hold on, Mr. Brinson. We'll be with you, sir. Yes, Ms. McCoskey.
Yes, Your Honor. Position number 2 occurred June 28th, 2024. Position number 3 occurred October 20th, 2024. They are both at the same incident location, which is 630 10th Street Northwest in Atlanta. For position 2, the defendant went into the store and stole a 12-pack case of beer. The security officer advised that the defendant had already been criminally trespassed from the property, but he does not care and keeps coming back. Position number 3, this incident occurred when the defendant returned to that same incident location, that Quick Trip, and he is accused of stealing a 24-pack of water and a bag of Reese's snacks. When officers asked for his identifying information, he gave them the incorrect spelling of his last name and a false date of birth, which was August 13th, 1970. The defendant has two cases, both at the same incident location. The one pretrial mentioned 24 CR 0045555C. The defendant pled guilty on, it looks like July 25th, 2024, and he was ordered to stay away from that incident location. He has another case, 24 CR 00211C, same incident location. He also pled guilty on July 25th, 2024. That was a criminal trespass. He was ordered to stay away from that incident location. So there are two cases to which he pled guilty to at that same incident location, was ordered to stay away. Less than, 3 months later, he has returned to that incident location and committed theft by shoplifting again. So there's clearly something going on here. He keeps going back to this location no matter how many times he is told not to. He's now in violation of his probation. And there is just a concern that once he is released, he will just go back to that incident location. Either there's something else going on here, like an MH issue, or he just doesn't get the picture and doesn't care. The state's recommendation for position 2 is $1,000 surety bond. Stay away from all Quick Trip locations. A BHET, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol. The state's recommendation for position 3 is a $3,000 surety bond, $1,000 on each charge. That is what he currently has. So we're just asking that the bond he currently has for position 3 remain the same conditions. Stay away from all Quick Trip locations. BHET, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol. I will state that position 2 occurred June 28th, 2024. So that occurred before he pled guilty on July 25th of 2024. So that case technically should have just, happened at the same time. I'm not sure. I guess it was just missed at the SAP calendar.
Okay. And you're telling me, Ms. McConkey, that I was the one that told him to stay away?
I believe so. Yep. Let me triple check that.
Okay, I think that's what Mr. Howard told me. Okay. Thank you, Ms. McConkey. Mr. Cook?
Yes, John, my client is 50 years old. He's not working. He's on disability. He makes less than $600 a month on disability. We understand the background and the recurring issues. We would simply ask the court to take in mind his modest resources when setting the bond. Again, we would have no objection to a BHET. We can ask the social workers to do that.
And I just looked at that order, Your Honor. It was you on July 25th, 2024 who ordered that stay away.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McConkey. So I do want to start with a BHET. We need to figure out what's going on with Mr. Brinson. So for each of the charges, it's going to be a $250 good bond. So $250 good bond for position 2. Stay away from the Quick Trip or all Quick Trips. A BHET, a social worker visit for that. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. For position 3, a $250 good bond per charge, makes for a total of a $750 good bond. Stay away from all Quick Trips. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. BHET and a social worker visit for that position also. And if you can have them report to me on November 5th, Mr. Cook, so that we can figure out what's going on with Mr. Brinson. Okay?
Yes, Sean.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Brinson.
Next, Your Honor, I guess you can go to the waiver unless we're ready for Mr. Moss, position number 11.
Is position 6 the waiver?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the only one we have left besides Mars. Okay, let's do the waiver then.
Okay.
Mr. Harris is charged in case 24 CR 00716-2C with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
41. On probation for shoplifting and obstruction, not a state court. On probation in Rockdale, 7 counts of burglary. Also on for another count of burglary. Got an open felony shoplifting 24 PR 005580. He has a bench warrant out of Superior Court. Wanted out of Clayton County on a probation hold. 2014 stalking, harassment, phone calls, terrorist threats conviction. That's it.
Okay, Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, this gentleman was on the docket yesterday. It was a medical reset. This is an incident from October the 20th. Kroger at 590 Cascade Avenue is the location where it's reported defendant was caught stealing $367.86 worth of groceries from the store. He had been arrested before at that location. He does have an open felony shoplifting from a Target and a failure to appear with that case. He's got a hold out of Clayton County. And he's under sentence for a shoplifting for the Walmart at 844 Cleveland. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, to stay away from the Kroger. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. We'd also ask for a BHET.
Keep them busy. Yes, my client is 44 years old, has no income, gave me a good address in Lithonia. Again, we understand the circumstances. He's apparently not going anywhere with this hold in Clayton. We would ask the court again to consider the modest resources. He has no income. And if a signature bond is not possible, then the lowest possible surety bond, and we will request from the social workers a visit and a BHET. We would have no problem with that.
Okay, it'll be $1,000 good bond, stay away from the incident location, the Kroger. Social worker visit for BHET, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Okay, we ready for Mr. Moss?
What was that bond, Judge?
$1,000 good.
Okay. Thank you.
We ready for Mr. Moss's case?
Yes.
Did whomever needed to join us, did they join us?
Mr. Robinson or anybody on his ACT team?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, sorry for the delay.
Okay, so can we just go off the YouTube? Do we have to?
Still have
Go
other
ahead.
people in the Zoom that I don't know who need to be addressed, like Anthony. I don't know who they're here for. And Mayor Carter, I don't know who they're here for.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lewis.
Saying that it's not all personnel on the Zoom. We still
Ms.
have,
Carter on the Zoom is the victim in this case.
and I don't know,
Maya Carter.
I don't know the name Anthony. I don't know who they're here for.
Yes, ma'am. Under the name Anthony, good afternoon. Which case are you here for? Can you hear me, Miss Anthony? You have to unmute yourself for me. It's somewhere on your, if you're using an iPhone, somewhere on your.
Hear me now?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm his mother. I'm Sheila Moss.
All right. Good afternoon, Ms. Moss.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Okay. It looks like everyone that's on the Zoom call has some